I'm Jean, also known as the Results Queen, and you're watching Get More Results, the show that helps you get more results both in business and in life. Over the last couple of weeks, we've talked about the results formula. I wrote this book called The Results Formula, Why Goals Don't Work and Results Do. And the idea of these next couple of weeks is to teach you my tips and tricks of how to get more results. I know that we've had a lot of different guests on our shows in terms of interviews that have given you tips and tricks from their point of view. But so many of you said to me, Jean, I want to know what you do specifically to get the results and why you are the results queen. So I'm going to tell you that my clients were the ones who crowned me the results queen. And then I trademarked it and actually registered marked it. So there's a little R next to it, which is a great result to achieve. It was something that I really wanted to do, and I didn't think I could. And how did I do it? Well, the thing is that I had the end in mind. And today we're going to talk about the E in the results formula. For those of you who don't know or can't remember, the results formula stands for ready, end, steps, you, levels of learning, transformation, and success. The last two shows, we talked about the intro and just getting yourself ready to achieve results. And then last week, we talked about the R, which stood for ready, and what you need to do to get results. Now I'm going to talk about end. And end stands for the end result you want. So like I knew that I wanted to register mark the results queen. It took me 2 years, and I had a team of people to do it, but I did it. I didn't think I could in the beginning, but once I got ready and got my mind in the right place, then there was no stopping me. And that's what we've talked a lot about in the last 2 weeks, and we'll continue to talk about is your caveman brain and how you can use your caveman brain to get you to the next level of success. The fact is that there comes a time where it's no longer about your skill set, it's about your mindset. And the more you can manage your mindset, the more successful you will be. So that brings me to E. E stands for end, as I said before. Now, most of us, when we start a task or a project or we want to achieve a goal, remember I said to you, give up goals, goal. This doesn't sound nice. Results, that sounds nice. Remember we talked about the fact that when your voice goes up, it sounds more positive and your brain responds to more positive things. So, how many of you, when you decide to do something, just start? You don't really think about the end. You don't even visualize the end. You just start going. What I say to you about that is that if you want to drive from New York to California, would you just hop in your car and go, or would you figure out what route you wanted to take to get there? Now, some of you would say, no, I just hop in my car and go. And I'd say, great. How long is it going to take you to get there? Now, versus those people who say, I'm going to plan it out and get there. Now, you may not be a planner, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. The idea is that you have to have the end game in mind. So if I hop in my car and I don't even know I want to go to California, how do I know where I want to go? So the fact is that I need to decide that going to California is the right place versus, let's say, going to Kentucky or going to China or going to India. So the fact is that you have to think about what the end is. And I want you to start visualizing it. Those research shows that those who visualize the result that they're looking for are more likely to achieve it. And this came true in the Olympics where there were 2 gold medalists, and one of them had done a vision board, and we're going to talk about vision boards in a moment, and the other one didn't. And the other one was supposed to get all these gold medals. She ended up with one. The one who did the vision board was the one who ended up with all the gold medals. Now that might be anecdotal research. However, with that said, it is truth in the sense that that woman did a vision board and won gold medals versus the woman who didn't do the vision board and didn't get gold medals. So, vision board. A vision board is a great way to figure out what the end is and what result you're looking for. And how you do a vision board is just get a piece of paper and you can print out pictures or draw pictures or get words. You can use it from magazines. You can print them from the internet. As I said, you can draw them yourself. But the idea is that you're painting a picture of what the end looks like. And so I want you to do the end first before you ever start anything. And you can start to train your mind that when you want to do stuff, the first thing you do is, what's the end result look like? So many of us, as I said, just go. Like kind of a little duck on a pond. You just go and you float along, and whatever happens to you, happens to you. If you really think about what the end looks like and take a couple minutes or half an hour or a day, depending on how big the result is that you're looking for, and really think about all the things that could prevent you from getting to that result, then you'll know when those things come up, you'll go, oh, I already know that. And if you actually work on the steps, which is the next lesson, and I'll teach you that next week, of how to get around those objections and those obstacles, then you're more likely to achieve the result that you want. Now, sometimes results, as we talked about before, can be short-term, or they can be medium-term, or they can be long-term. And sometimes I've been on a journey for 2 or 3 years to get a result. Sometimes I'm on a journey for 2 or 3 minutes to get a result. The thing is that I always think about the end in mind first. What is it that I want to achieve? And then what I'm going to do is do something called Z to A thinking. And Z to A thinking is about starting with the end in mind first and working backwards, like going through the letters of the alphabet. And that's where the steps come in. Sometimes it's hard to separate end and steps for me because they do go together. But I promise you that I'm only going to talk about the end in this video, and I will talk about steps next week. I promise, I promise, I promise. So what does your end look like? Well, your end might be about money, and you may want to get more money. You may want to have more clients. You may want to be a better leader. You may want to be a better parent or a better spouse or a better partner. The fact is that you have to think about what it is that you want first. Now, if I was to be a better partner, I don't know what better means. And there's something that we call non-action action words in my organization. Those are words that sound like they mean something, but when you actually get down to it, you think, what does that really mean? Like being a better partner. I don't know what better is. I don't know what better would be determined. And that's where I have to start getting into the more nitty-gritty details of what better means. Maybe I want to listen more. Maybe I want to look at the person in the eye more. Maybe I want to be prepared as to know what the conversation is going to be, and I have to rehearse that. So if you can break down the idea of what better means and paint a detailed picture of what the end looks like, I mean, down to the minutest of things. I know you might say, really, Jean? Mm-hmm. The more you can visualize it happening, the more you're likely to achieve it. And you can do that with anything. I have a client right now who has to have a meeting with his boss. And he's already said to me several times, oh, this is going to happen. Oh, this is going to happen. Oh, this is going to happen. Okay, well, that's based on previous experience. You can predict what's going to happen next. The fact is that you can change your behavior, change your action steps, change the end result, and that person won't react that way. When you find that you're in the person always acts the same way, you're in a rut usually. And the idea is that you can, if you change yourself, you'll change the steps of the dance because the person across the table will have to change with you in order to meet you where you are. So the fact is that if you know what the end looks like, you're able to maneuver yourself to that. Thinking about the end involves planning. And so many of us don't want to sit down and plan. We see a problem, we have a project, we just want to go and get it done. And for some of us, we get lucky and we do get it done. And for other of us, we get lost in the forest and things don't ever get accomplished. That's one of the reasons why I think goals don't work. Research has shown that only 5% of us set goals. So what's the other 95% of us doing if only 5% of us set goals? That means we're just going. And the 5% of people who set goals, only 2% achieve them. So what are they doing? Well, they set it and then then they fell off. And I think that's because people don't sit down and plan what they're looking for in terms of the end. And planning takes time, and it takes energy, and it takes thinking. And sometimes when my clients come to see me, they don't like to think. I know that seems so silly, but the fact is that they're like a 400-pound person trying to walk to the mailbox, and it's kind of hard. Well, that's because you've never done it before. And remember, I said to you before, we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. When we're uncomfortable, that's where we grow. So it's okay to be uncomfortable. And the fact is that you're trying something new, so it's going to be hard for you. You're not going to be able to wing it out 1, 2, 3. You're going to take some time into thinking about what it is that you want as you think about the end game in mind. And it may be a bit frustrating for you because you're so used to working quickly. Well, this is a different way of thinking, and this is new for you. So that's one of the reasons why I'm holding your hand through the process. And know that I've done this whole process. I created this process because I went through it myself. So I wanted to help other people do that. So I'm telling you that you're going to be a little frustrated. It's going to be a little trying. Keep moving forward. That's all I can say to you. Because if you know what the result is, and if you sit down and write it down, and then start to visualize what that looks like down to the most minute details, as much as you humanly possibly can, and start really thinking about what it is that could be frustrating you to prevent you from getting to that goal. What obstacles could be that? And you could be one of the obstacles. Your family could be one of the obstacles. Not having the right skill set could be the obstacle. Maybe you need more education. One of the things that if we can get out of our head all the things that could stop us, and we start planning around how to get around that, then we are much more likely to get to the result. What I say, though, to my clients is most of us don't ever plan. We just go, 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 go. I'll give you an example. I had a client who was a lawyer. I loved her. And she and I were sitting one day, and every time I talked to her, she was a doer, always wanted to get things done. And I said to her one day, okay, so how are you going to get what result do you want? She goes, I know what result I want. I said, great, describe it to me. And she goes, well, and she used some non-action action words, which I said, okay, like I want to be a better leader, or I want to bring in more clients. She actually said, I want to do more clients. I said, great, how are you going to do that? What does that look like? What's more mean? Is that 2? Is that 5? Is that 25? And in what time period do you want to bring in more clients, or you want to close more clients? And are you going to upsell your current clients, or your clients going to be new clients? So is it really about clients, or is it about money? And as you can see, I ask a lot of questions. I'm going to ask that you ask a lot of questions of yourself as well. If you don't ask questions, then you won't get the answers. And I know that sounds kind of silly to say, but the reality is that asking questions can really open yourself up to know what you want as opposed to just telling. But try asking questions. I often ask myself questions all the time. And if you're not good at asking questions, there's a great book called Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. And you can read it by Mary Lee Adams, and I'm going to suggest you go do that. Shout out to Mary Lee Adams. I never met her, but her book is awesome. So it's called Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. You could certainly read that. And the idea is that when you start asking questions, you're more likely to achieve the result than just telling. And as I said, my client was like, I got it. And once I started asking her questions, she's like, I don't got it. Because she thought in her mind that all she needed to do was to close more clients. Well, that's nice. But what does that look like? It's like a hockey puck that hits the goalpost and goes off. If I say to her, I want 4 more clients of, $10,000 who come from business owners, who are manufacturers or product service and need help in the area of new business development, then I'm more likely to find people like that than people who just say, I need to bring new clients. And one of the things we've talked about for the fact is like, maybe you want your own television show. And if you do, great. Look up b2btv.tv and click on Become a Host, and we'll help you become a host and have your own television show just like me. I didn't think I could do this, but when I wrapped my head around it and started to know that I was ready, the next thing I know, I thought, I got to think about what the end looks like. I got to think about what I want. So, and it's not hard. It just took some time to think about what it looked like and then to put those action steps in place. And as I said, steps is the next lesson. So I know you're all like, oh, let's hear about the steps. The fact is that I really want you to get down the fact that you need to define the end and what the end looks like. And I'm really trying to hammer it into your head that it's not just dashing it off and dashing out the door. It's sitting down, writing it out, thinking about it like strategic planning, and then visualizing what the steps look like, or visualizing what the end looks like, visualizing what the end looks like. Because the fact is that most of us blow through end so easily, and then we get lost in the steps and the levels of learning, so that the more that we can think of what the end looks like, when we get lost, we'll know about how to get back there, what it looks like. So let's just talk a little bit about strategic planning versus tactical planning, because my clients often have challenges around that too. I think one of the hardest challenges to do is to transform from tactical thinking to strategic thinking. I think that's because we don't often talk about strategic thinking in school, and we don't feel really rewarded unless we've completed some stuff. So tactical thinking is when you just think about the tactics and you just go off and do stuff. And it feels really good because I achieved something, like I made my bed, or I drove to the supermarket, or I spoke to a client, or I talked to my teammate. Right? I did something, so I feel good about myself because I did something. Strategic planning is often there isn't anything, because it's all thinking work. And thinking work actually is more important than doing work. I know you might say, really, Jean? But yes. And there's not big, there may not feel as much joy in finding the thinking work as the doing work, but I'm going to tell you, the more you do of the thinking work, the more successful you will be. And if you think about the people who are very high level in organizations, that's all they do all day. I've had clients that as they get more successful, they say, Gene, all I do is spend more time in meetings. I don't ever do actual work. Yep, because you're getting paid to think. And so many of us need to change our mindset around that. Because when you like to get paid to think, and that's because you have to change from being a tactical thinker to a strategic thinker. So how do you do that? Well, when you want to do some tasks, instead of just go, do, sit down and think to yourself, what does the end look like? And if I was to do this or do that, what if they said this or what if they say that? I call that decision tree thinking. Decision tree thinking. So let me talk about that since I talked about it. This decision tree thinking is when you ask a question with a yes, no, I don't know answer. And just think of it, because like as decision trees, they usually have 1, 2, or 3, and then depending on what you do, you go here or you go there. So the fact is that if I say yes, that's good. If you say no, what made you say no? If you said I don't know, what made you say no? And how do I get you to a yes? So that's decision tree thinking. And you may want to do this decision tree when you want to, about the end, when you're trying to figure out the end. I want the end, but this could happen. Okay, if this happens, then so what? It's like a formula. If then that. If this, then that. So those are kind of some techniques that you can use around your end game so that you can know exactly what the end looks like. What if you lose your path along the end game? Well, the fact is that the more you describe the end, the more likely you're going to get there. And that's one of the reasons why I love visualization. I should get you my vision board so you can see it. But every year I do a vision board. I have a long-term vision board and I have a short-term vision board. And it's just, my vision board is probably no bigger than this. My long-term one is much bigger. It's like this. And I cut pictures out of things that I want to achieve. And I put words on it, and I put them very carefully onto that board because I believe that every place has importance to it. Remember, I said to you, everything that you do matters, and everything happens for a reason. So my reasoning is to figure out why it's here. And that's one of the techniques I use as well. So when you're thinking about end, what you're going to do is you're going to sit down and you're going to write out, or with pictures or draw, what the end looks like for you. And then what you're going to think about is, what are all the obstacles that could prevent me from getting to the end? So you want to put down all of those obstacles. And what do I need to do to help me get to the end? Because there's always something that you have to change, whether it's your mindset or your skill set or your community or how you are acting or what you're eating. So there's always something that needs to be changed. And if you could figure out what that is, as you look in the end, it's going to help you get to the end more. The other thing is to know that you have to get your caveman brain involved. So every time, remember the little roommate up here who says, "Em, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that." Well, tell her to shut up. Just say, "Thank you, caveman brain, I really appreciate it, and I'm going to do this differently." So then what you need to do is that you talk to your caveman brain and tell them I'm going to do something differently, and then put the end in the brain, meaning we're going to do this. So thank you, caveman brain. I really appreciate this. We're going to get this end result. And just keep saying that. And as I said to you, if you do that twice a day for 30 days, you'll believe it. It's called affirmations. And there is research that says affirmations absolutely work. Affirmations are things that you may not believe about yourself, but if you say it for twice a day for 30 days, at the end of the 30 days, you'll believe it. And that's the power of our brains. And as I said, neuroscientists are learning about our brains because it's one of the most powerful organs in our bodies, and one of the most misunderstood. So the more that we understand it and harness our brain and do what I call brain training, the more likely we are to get a result. And this is what I do every day. When I get out of bed, the first thing I think about, I visualize. What's my day going to be like? What result am I going to get? What am I hoping to achieve? Does it always happen? No, because remember I told you that things do happen along the way, but I am prepared for those obstacles, and I know how to maneuver myself around those obstacles because I know what my end game is. And I know that from a short-term way of being, I know that from a long-term way of being. And we've talked about the fact that setting 90-day plans will help you achieve those long-term results. Or if you just want to do a short-term result, that's fine too. Sometimes I set a result just for the day because it's just the easiest thing to do. And whenever I'm given a project or I want to accomplish something, the first thing I do is I sit down and I write out what the end looks like. And then I describe that in as detailed as possible as I can, down to like, I'm going to wear the red jacket. Yeah. I know it sounds silly and it might even sound crazy. I want you to try it over the next week because I know it works. And the reason why I know it works is because it works for me and it works for my clients. And it may feel uncomfortable doing this. And remember we talked last week about the fact that when you're uncomfortable, you're learning, you're growing, and you're achieving. And the other thing you might say is, well, I hate the change. Well, you know what I'm going to say? Build a bridge and get over it. Because the fact is, change happens every day. And if you're watching this, then I know you want to change. And I know that you can do this. And if you want a little of my help, feel free to write me at B2B TV. I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have. And I'm looking forward to next week to talking about steps. I'm all ready to start with that steps. So you're going to have to wait a week, and that's okay. I'll see you next time. I'm Jean, the Results Queen, and this is Get More Results, the show that helps you get more results both in business and in life. I hope that we helped you today. I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you next week.